I can send this twice.
Oh my gosh, I wish that old account wasn't fucking suspended.
Oh God, there's like actually people joining. Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
We are here, and we're about to invite Being to the live stream. Okay. There we go. Just gotta make sure. I've never used StreamYard before. I chose StreamYard.
Oh, thank you.
That's much better. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and try. Shoot, how can I edit the Sorry if it's taking a minute, guys. I'm not sure when Being is gonna join.
Oh, good. What's up, guys?
I sent them the link.
Sick. I didn't even catch it on camera.
What didn't?
It was so thin the way I blew it out. Guys, we got tattoos today.
Oh yeah.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
You can't really see them that well. Oh, someone sent $5. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Hold up.
Use that for gas money.
No, literally.
All we do is go places.
Yes. Give me a sec here, guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to. There's 1,000 people watching this.
Yeah, I was about to say, how do I see? And then I saw it and I was like, hey.
I can't really figure out how.
Apparently Blair's here. Oh, there's Being.
Oh, Being's here.
Hi.
We can't really hear you.
How do I? Is this good?
We can hear you now. Yes, we can hear you.
What's up?
Okay, awesome. Not much. We were just trying to figure out completely how to set this up.
Okay.
All this stuff on here. Did you get? So I had people ask. Also, you want us to call you Being, and what pronouns do you want to use?
It really doesn't matter. Honestly, Tyler's fine. Being's fine. She, he, they. Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay. I'll try to call you Being, but I just have watched you on YouTube for a while. So if I call you Ty, I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, you can call me Tyler. It's totally fine.
Okay, awesome. I'm just really quickly trying to figure out how to. I had one live stream up on here, so I'm trying to figure out how to delete that one and just have the one on here that was here. Also, okay. Sierra, or one of you guys, can you go tell my dad that we're like doing a live stream and not to bother us? I completely forgot that. So yeah. So Being is here tonight to talk about their experience just with like transitioning and whatever place you're in now. I know when you first made your video, you were like, I shouldn't have done it. Like, I feel like if I had known what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. And oh, Blair's here. Hi, Blair. But I wanted to give Being a chance to to a lot of people, and Being has a lot of people. You have a lot of people that follow you. I know that. But even just a wider audience of people who might be trans or might not be trans, might be questioning their transition or even if they want to start transitioning. So I just wanted to let you share your story and kind of talk about where you're at and like how you feel about everything that you've gone through in terms of transitioning and stuff.
Yeah, cool. So I came out as trans when I was like 17, and then I medically started transitioning at like 18. And I didn't have like a doubt in my mind that I like wasn't trans. I had the body dysphoria, which now I'm not sure if it was dysphoria. I'm still kind of like figuring that aspect out. But I had a lot of disconnect from my body. Didn't feel comfortable. The parts that I did have where they made me extremely dysphoric, and I like couldn't look in the mirror. I like when I, just a lot of the things that I struggled with aligned with being trans.
Right.
And so I had top surgery in 2014, and then I had a hysterectomy in 2015, and then later in 2015 I had phalloplasty. And so I did things very quickly, just very back to back to back, because I get very, once I'm like
sure about something.
Yeah, exactly. Once I'm sure about something, I go for it, and I don't I don't take a second to like be like, maybe I should think about the things I'm doing and kind of like look at how this is going to affect me later on in life. Like I didn't really take any any time to really figure things out. Specifically looking at like phalloplasty.
Sorry, my girlfriend's supposed to continue.
No, you're good. Specifically with phalloplasty, I wish I would have taken a little more time to kind of look at the surgery as a whole, and talk with guys who have had the surgery, and kind of like really just like sit with what it was as a whole and what's available to people after the fact, and because there isn't a lot of research on fallow and things like that. But so that was in 2015. Obviously, it's 2020 now, and at the end of last year, this is when I posted the video that I felt like I shouldn't have transitioned. And ultimately, I think that like transitioning was a super important part of my story. I think that without transitioning, I don't think I would have ever come to the realizations. I do think there are aspects of like, I don't know if I've ever would have gotten comfortable enough with myself to explore the fact that maybe I like was just denying the feminine aspects because of like past trauma. I don't think I would have ever gotten to that point if I wouldn't have like fully like just completely, I don't want to say completely transitioned because that looks different for everybody, but if I wouldn't have like medically gone through with everything that I did, I don't know if I would have ever been in a space where I would have been comfortable enough to explore the fact that a lot of it had to do with trauma. So there isn't a lot of regret. It's more so just like trying to understand why I made the decisions I made, and then like how to go forward from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I definitely understand that, because I feel like if I was feeling the same way, I would feel that way of like, you can't really regret it if this is what led you to start realizing what the problem was. I mean, obviously before transitioning, you probably didn't even think once that like,
Right.
maybe this is the cause of it. No, you were just kind of set on, oh, I'm trans, like this is my, fix to it.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand that in a sense. So I know you said a lot about you don't like to use the word regret because you're not necessarily regretting it. It's more so feeling like if you knew what you knew now, you wouldn't have made the same decisions.
Yes.
But is there any part of medical transition or even social transition that you feel like you wish you just hadn't done? Like if you could go back in time, which obviously you can't, is there any part of it that you're like, I shouldn't have done that? Or do you think that everything you did, you're still kind of happy with?
I'm gonna say that I probably wouldn't have gone through with phalloplasty.
Okay.
It really took a toll on my emotional being, my like physical being, like just all around. Phalloplasty was really, really rough. Like I was in a hospital bed for 5 days. I had to relearn how to walk. Like there were just so many different things where I wasn't expecting. So I guess maybe I should have, like I said before, just taken a couple steps back and really like researched and thought about the things I was doing before I did them. But it's very evasive.
Right.
It's very like traumatic to the body. And it was a lot. And I think that's ultimately what sent me into like the rock bottom that I ended up being in after fallow. I do also think though that I kind of hooked myself on the idea that things are going to get better after I did this. So whatever this was, like before it was top surgery, then I had top surgery and like, okay, well now it's like my bottom area. So now I have to have bottom surgery. And I was like, okay, things will get better when I have bottom surgery. And then I had bottom surgery and it never got better because it had nothing to do with like what was on the outside. It had something to do with what was going on in here.
Right.
I will say phalloplasty. I don't think that I like top surgery. I don't really like regret having top surgery. I don't even want to say I regret, like you said with the whole regret thing, but
Right.
I would have saved myself the
Energy
pain,
and time.
yeah, the pain and energy and the money and all of that went into bottom surgery, I think, for sure.
Really, I'm actually just curious because I'm kind of in the process of it. And I'm not 100% sure of like if I would go through with getting fallow or not. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on that, just because a lot of people I feel like who would maybe regret it or feel like they shouldn't have done it don't speak out about it. Like they just won't talk about it, or they'll just tell themselves that, oh, well, I don't regret it, even if they do internally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating as someone who like doesn't want to have that regret and like who hasn't done it yet, trying to like find people on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting perspective. I'm going to go through some of the comments that I have on here, just like
Sure.
the top ones. So the top comment was, what could be ways to cope with sexual abuse that didn't involve transitioning?
I think that's a tough one. I think more therapy probably.
Right.
A lot of people ask, like in the comments on the video, the original video I posted, is like, how long did I go to therapy? And like, did I go to therapy? And I had a therapist. He was like a gender specific therapist. And I went
Right.
to him for maybe like 5 sessions before he gave me my letter, which to me isn't nearly enough. Like it should have been a
Right.
little more like, okay, well, why are you feeling this way? Like we should have explored other aspects of why I felt like I was in the need to transition, because I think that it would have given me the opportunity to maybe take a step back and be like, okay, well, maybe you're right. Like I probably would have been a little pissed off, like not gonna lie, like you're not gonna tell me
Right. You
about
feel like
me.
you're getting gatekeeped.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's also like in the long run, that would have saved me a lot of heartache. That would have saved me a lot of pain. But also in the same breath, like I said before, it was important for me to go through, because in that process, in transitioning, I learned so much about like myself. I learned so much about just being like human in general. I mean, that might kind of sound a little weird, but like just being a human being, because I think that like for a while I was really dissociated from my body because of all the like the things that I went through. And then I got
Right.
even more so dissociated from my body after I like transitioned. And I think, I don't know, it was just, it's tough to like talk about, because I'm still not even like fully 110% sure where like what could have helped or what could have like, as I'm still in like that process of like discovering and like
Yeah.
healing and figuring out
It's
for
like new to
myself.
you.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly,
you're
exactly.
still figuring things out.
But I would say definitely if my therapist would have maybe taken a little longer before they gave me the letter, before they just were like, okay, yeah, you're trans, go for it. And then having like other supporting doctors. But I also did it in a time where it wasn't as like being trans wasn't as, I don't want to say as big of a thing as it is now, but it wasn't as well known, I guess. Like it wasn't as big. It just was like I was, maybe there's like 2 like trans guys on YouTube. It was like Skylar Kurgel and like Aiden Dowling. Those were like the
Yeah.
big guys, you know what I mean? And so there wasn't a lot of resources. There wasn't a lot of like, I was literally just kind of like going for it because I saw like happiness on the other side. Like I saw people
Right.
who were like, oh, like I did this and I feel comfortable in my skin now. And I identified with the fact that I didn't really feel like a girl. And so I was just like, oh, this must be the answer. And I think there was an aspect where like it was an answer for me at the time. Like in that moment, I think I did everything that I needed to do. But like just looking back at it, if someone would have just maybe sat with me a little bit longer, but then like, I don't know, it goes back and forth because I'm very hard headed and I don't like listening to people and I know what I know. And so
Yeah.
it goes back and forth.
I think that's one of the biggest issues, at least something that I've noticed. Like I went through the same kind of thing when I got on testosterone. Like I did end up seeing a therapist for a while, but she wasn't like a gender specific therapist. She was like a all around therapist who had like worked with transgender people before.
Okay.
And the difference between I feel like what you're saying, what I experienced is that she actually did go through a lot of things like that. Like asked me if I had been through any sort of like sexual trauma and actually delved into that with me before referring me to the endocrinologist. But here in Maryland, I'm not sure how it is where you are. You can just go on testosterone. Like you can walk into an endocrinologist clinic and get on testosterone, and then a few days later, after they do the blood work, just be on it like a week later. Which to me, I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say, because at one point I do understand the point of saying like it's your body, it's your choice, like you can do what you want to it.
Right.
But at what point is that harmful to people who in the future may not still feel the same way, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
I think
A lot of the stuff is like, it's permanent, you know what I mean? So it's not like you can, like with phalloplasty, I get that a lot. It's like, can you just go backwards? And it's like, no, like
Is there any way to reverse fallow? I don't know that.
No, I mean, not that I know of. It's such a, I don't want to say taboo thing, but because it's not well researched and because like there's not a lot of like resources for people who have had fallow, like there isn't a lot for people like after the fact. Like if you're struggling through like with like, I don't know, if you have like a complication or something, you're kind of like the first person who's had that complication. I mean, not the first, but like you don't have a lot of like support in like knowing exactly what's going on. Like I've gone to doctors and I've literally had them say like, you're like a doctor's like playground. Like we're going to have to do all these tests on you because your anatomy is so different. We have no idea what to do with you. And that's terrifying when you go into a doctor and like they're supposed to know how to help you and you're like, oh shit, like I guess I'm kind of like on my own here, and you have to do a lot of the research yourself. But no, yeah, continue with what you were saying.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, if you had any complications with fallow. Like, did you have any sort of complications?
I didn't. I got really lucky.
Yeah.
I think I only know one other guy who didn't have any complications with fallow.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been I've like been in and out of like chats and like been in and out of like, you know, just people who are healing. And there's a lot of like scary stuff that happens after phalloplasty that people don't talk about, because it's very, you don't want to like steer people away from doing something that may be right for them, you know, but
Right.
you also want people to know that like it isn't everything that it's painted to be, because there are some like dark sides to phalloplasty, just like there are positives. Like I said, I didn't have any complications, but that's like, from what I know from the people who are sharing, it's rare.
I
So,
couldn't actually imagine getting phalloplasty in 2015. Like, this is just a side note. Like, now I've been looking into it, and it's 2020. Like, there's a lot more info, I think.
Yeah.
And at the surgeon that I want to go to is like 30 minutes from my house.
Okay.
So whereas like where you had to you flew
Yeah.
out to San Francisco, right?
Mhm.
So it gives me a little bit more sound of mind. But I feel like at the time, like the surgeon you went to was really the only one that was well known.
Yeah.
Dr. Chen and Crane, right?
Yeah, I went to Chen, and I think I was like the handful of his first like 15 or 20 surgeries that he did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I don't know if you've heard about like the lawsuits against Crane for various things.
Oh, I've seen a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to see that, because I still see people being like, Crane is the best bottom surgeon, go to this person. And it's like, I definitely like know Dr. Chen is good. I know he branched away from Dr. Crane, but I want to just put that out there for anyone who might be researching surgery. If you live in that area or whatever, like, yeah, definitely do your research. Like he was saying, there's like lawsuits and stuff, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot surrounding Crane's practice right now. I think that it's all just coming to the light now. So
are those lawsuits from people who regret the surgery, or are they from people who had like complications that shouldn't have happened?
Complications. From what I know, I don't think it's anybody who's like regretted it. I think it's mostly just people who have had complications, and like serious complications. So and then
I know
kind of like negligent in helping them forward, kind of thing.
I know you have your one friend. I forget, is his name Caden? Didn't he have like a lot of complications? I know he makes YouTube videos. So if you guys want to check his videos out, I think if you know, what's his name on there? Like full name?
It's Caden Carter.
Yes, I know that he made like a couple videos talking about that, or like a lot.
Yeah.
And so did he go to Dr. Chen or Dr. Crane?
He went to Crane. Yeah, he went to Crane. Yeah.
Dang.
I remember when all that happened. We were like,
I remember
15,
some of it.
16.
I remember some of it, and I was definitely like, I felt really bad.
Yeah,
but I
we
actually
went through a
didn't know
lot.
if you had complications or not. That's something I wanted to ask.
Yeah, it was something I didn't know how to talk about, because I kind of felt like
You feel guilty.
Yeah, I felt guilty for like not the fact that I didn't have any complications, and I didn't want, I don't know. It was just like a weird place, and I didn't know how to like talk about it.
Right. Like it's like survivor's guilt, kind of, where like all these other people are going through something, and that you should have gone through technically, like in their eyes, but you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
This is okay. Someone said, did any YouTubers help you realize that you wanted to detransition? And I also am gonna say this also. Were there any YouTubers that really influenced you to transition, like on both ends of that?
Well, like I said, the two big ones on the internet at the time, that the only ones that I knew of was like Skylar Kurgel and Aiden Dowling, and I really aligns with Skylar. Honestly, he was a big thing for me, like when I was first coming out. And so I think I would say, I don't want to say he encouraged me, but it was definitely like because we never talked or anything like that, but it was definitely like that, like seeing him in his like, because he has a very like just like he has something about him, and I feel like when you watch him, you know, like he's just got something about him. That's like,
music,
right? Yeah, he's so good. Yeah. So like I really identified with him as a person, I think. So Skylar definitely, and then with detransitioning, no, I stayed kind of like off the internet for a really long time, because I didn't know how to like. I don't think I even like knew consciously what was going on. I just knew that something felt off. And so I stayed away from the internet because I like felt weird, like speaking. It felt like foreign. It was kind of like I'm talking about this thing, but I don't know if I really feel the way I'm speaking. And so
Right.
I kind of like took a couple steps back from the internet for a long time on and off. And there was like this power struggle like within myself, I think, because I wanted to like speak out and help, but I felt like I was speaking out about the wrong things and like things that just weren't like aligning with me at that time. But I had like no way to like verbalize that or wait, even like for myself to understand that, because it just wasn't something that I would even allow myself to process. Like I wouldn't even allow myself to like feel like I'm had maybe like jumped the gun and shouldn't have had any surgeries or shouldn't have like transitioned. Like I wouldn't even allow myself to like process that.
That makes sense. I think a lot of people would probably feel that way. I think there's probably far more people who feel that way and who wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember. I had something to say. Do you have anything that you want to say, by the way?
No, I'm really just interested in the conversation. Like I've been like watching you forever, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just like happy to see you start to like find peace and stuff like that.
Thank you,
just,
man.
Like it makes me really happy.
I appreciate that.
So, would you consider yourself like detransitioning? Like, I feel like when I look at someone who's detransitioning, they always like go back to looking female or whatever, and I feel like you aren't necessarily doing that as much.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure like how exactly you would classify like what you feel like you're going through at the moment.
So I don't feel like I'm detransitioning. I just kind of feel like I'm practicing like radical self-acceptance at this like
Right.
moment. It's like I'm in a place where there's not a lot that I can do either way, you know. This is who
Right.
I am. And so I have to like practice loving the body that I'm in, because I really don't want to have any more surgeries, and I really don't want to, you know, like go further with anything, but also like I don't really want to go backwards, if that makes sense, because it's just a lot of like, again,
Right.
just like energy and time expended on things that I just really want to focus on, like being present and like living in the life that I do have right now. So a lot of like mindfulness and just like being like in the now moment and trying not to like really focus on like, because there are times where like I really don't feel aligned with my body, like and it's scary. But I also remember feeling like that before, like
Right.
you know. So it's one of those things where I know that I don't think it's a body thing. I think it's more so it's a mind, it's like a mental thing that I have to like push through and figure out how to put the pieces together the right way for me, you know. So I don't want to call it detransitioning. I don't really, because I'm not going
Right.
back to being a girl per se. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like identifying how I identify, and I'm doing the things that I feel like. If I feel like I want to like dress really girly, whatever that means one day, you know, then that's what I'll do. If I feel like I kind of want to dress like a little more masculine, and then I'll do that, you know. Like I'm trying to like drop the judgment and just kind of like be in the moment and do like what feels good in that moment for me, because that's been like healing as well.
Right. So does it like I'm assuming that most of the time you're perceived like male to like people in social situations.
Yeah.
Does that bother you? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, do you still feel the same as you did before you had this self-realization, or does it?
It doesn't bother me. I think that I'm kind of, like I said, just kind of getting comfortable with like not really using other people's perceptions of me to like validate myself anymore, because I did a
Right.
lot of that. Like I would use, okay, well, they see me as a boy, so that means that like I must really like be a boy, or they see me as a girl, so that means like, oh my God, like they're seeing me as a girl, I must really be a girl. And so I'm kind of like trying to like take everybody else's perceptions of me and kind of put them on the back burner and really focus on like, okay, how do you feel? Does this feel good to you? If this feels good to you, then it's okay, you're safe. Because I do still live in a lot of like the trauma. So I'll have like something will happen to me and I'll have a reaction where I'm just like coping with that trauma. So I'm like still living in survival mode a little bit. So I have to like remind myself like, oh, okay, you don't have to follow this pattern anymore. You're safe. Like you can follow something else and you can feel safe and you can feel okay. So I try to just really rely on like what feels good for me. And that's difficult because sometimes I don't even know what feels good for me, you know?
Right.
But it's definitely a lot more like slow. It's a lot more like thought out. I'm not like trying to jump into anything or like jump, like there's been a couple of videos where I've posted just like on a whim and I'm like, wait, like let me like take this down and like really think about what I'm saying before I put it out there. because like when I feel something, I'm just one of those like people who I guess are very passionate, and like when I feel it, I'm just gonna say it.
You just
And
want people
then-
to know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then I have to take a couple steps back again and be like, okay, well, like this is a moment. So how do you feel now? Like that you're outside of that moment. And a lot of the time I'm just like processing from a space where I haven't like fully accepted the truth, or I'm still like living in like fear in some aspect. It's healing is very interesting, and it's very up and down. And so I'm still going through the motions with that for sure.
Right. So this kind of ties in with that, but so I'm interested for you to like compare like when you first came out as trans, like how people who surrounded you, whether that be like family, friends, those type of people, how they reacted to you first coming out as trans, and how they feel now that you're saying, well, I'm not sure if this was the right thing for me. Like, is it supportive on both ends, or do you feel like you're facing judgment at the moment? Like,
I have a lot of support right now, which I'm like very, very grateful for, because I don't like, as much as I say like, oh, I'm not like valid, like I'm not searching for that validation. Like I'm human, and it does happen.
it's still important to have
Yeah,
people that support
exactly.
you.
But my family's super supportive. When I told them, they were kind of like, okay, like, you know, we get that, we understand. When I first came out, like as trans though, it was there was a lot of hesitation, and I was like, I don't know if like this is the right thing. And then eventually everybody kind of got on board and was like, okay, like, you know, we support you. We just want you to be happy. So I have a girlfriend who I've been with since I was 15. So I'm 24 now. She's been here since, yeah.
Oh, that's actually so cute.
Yeah, she's been here since before I even like came out. So it's been a, like kind of like a rocky road with that. But again, just like a lot of love and a lot of support, like in and out of even on the internet. Like I was really, really scared to post the video I posted. Like I really thought I was gonna get a lot of backlash. And I did, but I got like a lot more love than I did the negative stuff. And that like really meant a lot, because I was terrified. I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to, you know, like invalidate anybody's experience. Because like you see that so much like in the detransition community, where it's like they just become like anti-trans
And turf,
like,
yeah.
It's like not the answer, you know what I mean? Like everybody's experience is different, and just because you went through something like doesn't mean you have the right to project your experience onto another person.
Yeah,
and so like
what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say another person that we did a live stream previously with, that we're gonna live stream with again. She detransitioned and then like came on my channel and acted like a turf and like told us that we weren't trans, and now retransitioned.
Oh wow.
So I'm making her come on and apologize. Him.
Huh.
Anyways, though, continue.
But yeah, I just think it's super important to like that was something that I really wanted to be clear on. Like I don't want my like videos to be used for like any kind of like
anti-trans
yeah,
purpose.
exactly, because that's not how I feel. It's not what I stand for. Like I truly believe that there are people who are born and they're trans, you know, like they don't align with their bodies, and that's real, you know what I mean? Like, and so I don't want to like take away from anybody's experience. So that was like there's a lot of hesitation in posting the video, because I don't want to say I was like I don't know, I don't want to like talk big of myself, but I played a part in like, you know, the youth, especially like watching my videos, and they're like,
oh yeah, I was just talking about that with him whenever you put that video out. I was like, holy shoot, like I hope people like watch the whole video, because you did talk about that. You talked about how like everyone's experience is different, blah blah blah. This is just something that I personally went through, and I was just like, man, I really hope these people who see trans people negatively aren't just watching it to try to find something like that.
Yeah.
But the way you worded everything was great. It was all good.
Good, I appreciate that, because that was like super important to me. Like I really didn't want to invalidate anybody. I didn't want anybody to feel like I was like telling them that the things they were going through weren't like real and valid, because I've been there, and I don't. That's not what I stand for at all.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe from your first video, which is why I wanted to do this live stream with you, just because I know that you're a very level-headed person, and so I thought it was important, because I knew that you would come on here and like talk about what you're feeling, like what you're going through without doing that in like an anti-trans way.
Right.
Like I feel like a lot of people assume that me, or even you, not as much lately, but like that I just like think all trans people are like trenders or whatever, and it's not the case. It's more so I just don't want people to go through like such a taxing thing, something that's so
Yeah.
taxing on your body,
Oh yeah.
just because the internet maybe influenced them to think that they were
Yeah.
that. You know, I can see where people probably watch my videos and get convinced that they're trans, and it
yeah.
scares me.
I went through
Yeah.
something where I like wanted to stop posting trans videos altogether because I was like, I feel like I influenced kids to transition because I got so many DMs of people saying like, hey, I used to be like a fan, but like my name's like Jesse now instead of Jack, and I'm like, oh okay, but I also like I felt like did I contribute to this?
Right.
Like I get what you're both saying.
Yeah, and that's like that was honestly like, and like really big ups and like kudos to you guys for like seeing your influence and your impact, because that was not even something that I had thought about when I had first started making videos. It was like, oh well, I'm gonna help people, and like, you know, but I had
Right.
never really thought, like, because I guess I didn't see that for myself, you know, like, so when I saw like Skylar, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's making videos and he's like really aligned with me, so I can maybe do that for people as well. And I didn't even see how like maybe somebody could misconstrue, and it could be like, oh, well, I'm trans, but maybe it's something completely different. And you just, you know what I mean? Like, I like have a lot of respect for you too. I watch your stuff, like both of your guys' stuff. So like, I have a lot of respect for you too, as a whole. And like, I was really, really happy when you guys asked me, a little nervous too. So like, I
Oh
appreciate
yeah,
you
I feel
guys.
bad. I feel bad that I know you just wanted to do, but I figured he's like pretty chill, you know.
Yeah.
No,
He's
no,
visiting me for a
I
week. I
love
know
that.
you guys
Yeah.
talked in the past at some point.
Yeah.
I watch your painting videos, man. I love you. You're awesome.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, we like used to DM back in like 2015.
Yeah.
Like,
I
all
remember
the-
watching your fallow video when it came out.
Me too. All my buddies, and we're all hyped for
I
it.
Y'all
know,
just
and
OG fans of each other, which is cool. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
well, yeah, and it's crazy just because I never ever got the like feeling like you would maybe one day feel like you shouldn't have gone through it all,
Yeah.
which
me
scares
neither.
me to think like, how am I gonna feel? Like, I mean, it's a realistic fear.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I can relate to you and I always related to you. And it's like, maybe I haven't gone through the same things as you, but it's like, you know, you're 24, I'm 19, you're only 5 years older than me. But how am I going to feel in 5 years?
Right.
How are you going to feel in 5 years? Like,
Right.
Yeah, I think you guys, honestly, I think you're level-headed. And you know, like, if push comes to shove and you do discover that like maybe you shouldn't have done some things that you've done, like, I think that there's always a platform to speak on it, and there's always room to grow in the space that you're in. You know, like, I don't think like I get like torn up for this because I said in the video that there's no right or wrong, and like, with a grain of salt, but it's there isn't, like, everybody's experience is going to be like different, you know what I mean? So like, what's right for me and what's right for Ryan, what's right for Calvin is going to be completely different, you know, like, it's not all going to look the same. So like, I had phalloplasty and I think that was like the tipping point for me, but Calvin, you could have phalloplasty and it could bring you like so much alignment and so much joy. Like, the thing that sucks is like, you just really don't know until it's done and you've done it. And ultimately though, like, I learned a lot. So if you do ever get into a space where you feel like, you know, it's not right, I think that there's always that like stepping stone of, okay, so what can I learn from this and how can I like grow in the space that I'm in? And that's kind of where I've had to like force myself to be. But also, like, if there are other people who even remotely align with my experience and are like even thinking like for a second that there might be like, oh, maybe I'm doing this for another reason, I just wholeheartedly encourage you to like really, really, really sit with yourself and kind of go inward and think about like, okay, like, you know, why am I doing this? And kind of like just keep asking why, because eventually you'll get to the root of like your action. And you might like do it and you might find that it's the right thing. And then if it's the right thing, you know, go for it, do it, of course. But especially if anybody in here is even thinking about having like phalloplasty, really, 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 really think and like sit and talk with people and ask for support and like weigh all your options, because it's a scary surgery. It's worth it if it's right for you, but it's super scary.
yeah, because I see it coming here from someone that said, I'm so happy with my phalloplasty, it was so worth it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how people's experiences can be so vastly different, when I feel like everyone goes into it feeling like, I'm not going to regret this. Like, I need this, you know?
Right.
So that's very interesting. I definitely, you know, I at the moment, for me, I'm not sure how the process was for you, but to get it at least through my insurance, was yours covered by insurance? Like, did you have to?
So it was like 80-20. So 80% of it was covered by insurance, and then I had to cover the 20%
Okay.
that was left over, which was, I think, around It was like in between 8. I think it was like 8,000, something like that.
Okay, honestly, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and
So-
yeah, when you see it's a lot, but the price tag on fallow it's like insane. So when you're like, oh, 8,000, okay, like I think that's
Less than mine. I think the way mine is that it completely covers it,
okay.
but I have to pay like my deductible or something.
Yeah.
Which is like 5. I don't know. I don't actually know how much, but with it where I live, at least you have to see like 2 different therapists, and then you have to go through all these consults and stuff. I'll probably talk about this with you separately just because I have questions. But yeah, honestly, my biggest fear other than phalloplasty is just a histo because of the type of like examinations they have to do that I've heard of and stuff. And that really freaks me out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, is honestly just being too scared to even like go in for the consult for that.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk on that for a little bit if you guys don't mind.
Oh yeah, anything.
I'm going through it right now. I had a hysterectomy, obviously. I had a full hysterectomy, so everything is gone. And now I'm dealing with like problems that like older women deal with, like 45, 50-year-old women. Because also obviously I went through menopause and that was like not fun. And now I'm postmenopausal, and I'm having like issues with vitamin D levels. My bones are like, I'm at like high risk for osteoporosis, and I'm 24, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how my future is gonna look, you know. And I wish that I would have talked, like the person who did my hysterectomy. I kind of wish that she would have given me that, like, because I didn't know that. Like I knew like there was a risk, but I was under the impression that as long as I was like doing HRT, that I wouldn't be at risk for, you know, like osteoporosis and high cholesterol, something like that. And now I have both of those things. And so I'm having to take like vitamin D supplements on top of the HRT. And I'm basically going through a third puberty now, because I did stop for a while. So that could be why. But like, I don't know. When I was young and I was going through it, I was like, yeah, this is for me. And then I just didn't think about like how it's going to affect me. And now I'm 24 and I'm looking at like issues that I shouldn't have to look at for another like 25, 30 years. And so that's been pretty terrifying.
And so that, you know, that was caused by the hysterectomy?
Yeah, just the lack of estrogen.
Right. I didn't know if maybe, like you said, I would assume HRT testosterone would make you make those problems disappear, like not happen.
That's what I was under the impression of as well. I did stop testosterone for a decent amount of time, but when I got my levels checked, I was at like a normal level of testosterone. So they still found like the vitamin D deficiency. They want me to go and get like a bone density test, and I haven't done that yet. But it's just like a lot of things that are like really, really scary. And I just recently started back on estrogen. Because I'm tired of hot flashes, and I'm just kind of, you know, it's not like particularly to like look more feminine, or like, it's just kind of like, I feel like it's what my body needs right now. And I'm kind of like I said before, running the risk of the whole like osteoporosis and the menopause. So it's just like something that I know is going to like help me deal with those symptoms. Yeah. But it's just very, very scary. And I was under the impression testosterone would be like one of those things where as long as I was doing it consistently, I would be fine. But I guess it depends on obviously the individual and the body, but it wasn't the case for me, I guess. So that's just another like aspect to, I guess, take into consideration. Like it's obviously, if you want to have bottom surgery, like you have to do the hysterectomy. There's like no way to go in between it. But just like another thing I wish like younger Tyler would have like sat down and thought about. I'm like, okay, well, you know, like, am I gonna want to deal with like menopausal issues at 24? And yeah, but it's like,
so you're taking estrogen again now?
Yeah, I just started like 4 or 5 days ago.
So have you noticed, I mean, even just from being off testosterone, are there any changes that you necessarily noticed in terms of your physical features or even mental changes?
Mental changes, for sure. I'm kind of like going back on that like emotional roller coaster that happens when you first get on hormones, which is not fun. But I do like, so after phalloplasty, I wasn't consistent with my testosterone shot really at all. I would do it like maybe once or twice a month. But after you have a histo, you don't have to do it as frequently because you're not like fighting the estrogen that was previously there. You're just kind of like, it's so if I would have done my shot like once a week, I would have had like sky high testosterone levels. So I was doing it like once every other week. And that was like leveled enough to where I would have like an average male testosterone level in my body. So that was like what was working for me. So I was doing it. It started like every other week, and then I would like forget or I would slack off, and then I was like, oh shit, I haven't done my shot in like a month, and then it kind of turned into that. And so it kind of just hit like the back burner. And there were also aspects where like I didn't want to do shots. Like I was tired of that. Like I
he
just
stopped.
hated that. And so like, oh, did you? You stopped?
I stopped shots for a while. I was kind of inconsistent for my like second year of testosterone, and then I started pellets like 6-ish months ago, and like now I'm like good.
Honestly, do my T shot once every 2 months, pretty much, because honestly, well, I mean, it depends. I guess like I maybe do it more than that, but it's because the doctor I go to literally has so many trans patients that you cannot make an appointment unless you do it 3 months in advance, and it's impossible to get through to them. So if you run out, like sometimes there will be a little extra in the bottle that you can't get out to do your shot.
Yeah.
You have to just move on to the next vial, even though there's some in there, so that builds up, and so then you can't even get another appointment. It's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But no, that's interesting. So you haven't really noticed too many physical changes though?
Not really, no. Like I get like tired easy, but I'm also anemic, which I wasn't until after phalloplasty because I lost so much blood. And my body has not been able to like recuperate from the blood loss of like phallo. So just a lot of things that like people don't like think about. Like I wouldn't even thought about that, you know what I mean? Because like from a medical standpoint, like I don't know much about like biology and like anatomy and things like that. But like that was something before I had surgery I didn't even think about. But I lost so much blood that like my iron levels haven't been able to balance themselves back out since the surgery. That and I don't really take care of myself. So there's like a lot of different like things that like play into why I feel the way I feel. But after I stopped testosterone, yeah, I felt very like kind of like sluggish, kind of irritable. I did notice like I had like an issue with my wrist for a little while. Like it felt like it was sprained, but I had never done anything to it. So carpal tunnel at 24, carpal tunnel, I started to develop that in my right hand. And they say that like when I was Googling it, there was, my doctor doesn't agree with me, but I think it's because of the hormones. But my doctor just thinks it's something separate, which I don't understand because again, I'm 24 and like, I just don't understand like how I could have carpal tunnel at 24. I guess it's possible because technology and things like that, but I think it has something to do with the hormones.
Really?
But yeah, it's just like little things like that. Like it doesn't affect me on a day-to-day basis, but there'll be moments where I'll like, because for work I serve, so I'm serving, I'm lifting plates and stuff, and so if it gets agitated, then like it sucks because it feels like it's broken and I can't do anything with it. So there's that, and then now I've been on estrogen for like maybe a week or like 5 days, something like that. And like I said before, I had like heavily the emotional thing. Like things are weird, like the way things feel. Like I can't, like when I touch my back and it just feels like really different. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. But nothing like health-wise, those are my only like my real issues is like the menopause symptoms, which is the hot flashes and the osteoporosis and stuff like that, the vitamin D deficiency.
Right.
And yeah, the carpal tunnel, which I guess I don't really have any proof either way. But yeah.
I'm trying to look these questions as well. Someone asked, were there any signs looking back that your transition was a result of trauma as opposed to actually being trans?
I'm sure there were, but I just don't think I was in a space where I could look at them at the time. I'm sure there were a lot of different signs. I remember after having phallo, because a lot of it, if I'm being honest, like, because I was fine before phalloplasty. Like phalloplasty, I think really was like the tipping point for me in terms of like, oh shit, like was this the right thing? But after I had phallo, I remember like being in the car with a friend and like breaking down and crying, and like all that I could say was that like this was supposed to make me happy. This was supposed to make me happy. That should have been a really big sign. But I thought that it was just like a breakdown, and I was fine the next day. So I was like, okay, like whatever. But I just don't even think I was in a space where I could process anything that was like coming up for me, because I was, again, I just wouldn't allow myself to. Like, this was the right way and I was doing the right thing, and I couldn't, like, I think for my like mental health at that time, because it was already so bad, like if I would have allowed that thought to like seep in, I don't think I would have been able to handle it. So I think subconsciously I blocked it so that I could continue to like function.
Right. Someone else wanted to know how you came to find the name Being, or how you decided to start going by that.
So like, honestly, like when I first came out, I kind of like played with a whole bunch of names. Like I didn't like immediately come out. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go by Tyler.
Right.
Being is just kind of something that I'm playing with. I just like the idea of not really being like boy or girl. You know what I mean? I just kind of like, I'm a person, and like this is my unique experience, and I'm just like being. I'm just here.
Yeah.
And so like I went with Being as like a reminder to myself. So it's like when I see it, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just being. Like, I don't have to be a specific way or do any specific set of things. I can just be and show up as myself. So that's kind of
not to put like a label on it, but I was reading in the comments earlier. So would you relate your experience or feeling to someone who is like non-binary?
I think
not even just identifying as non-binary, but someone who isn't binary just in general.
Yeah, I would say that it's hard to explain, because like I said, I'm still kind of like grasping and like molding it to a way that like works and fits for me. But I think that I definitely, I don't know if I can't identify as female just because like my situation, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if because I don't feel 110% female. Okay. And I don't feel 110% male. I just kind of feel like this weird in between. So I would say like non-binary is probably the best way. If I was like trying to put myself into like a label or a box, it would probably be non-binary.
Right.
But I feel like it feels a little different. Like that doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. Like it's like the closest thing, but it's not. It just like kind of scratches the surface of how I feel. You know,
like it's deeper than
like I feel like you're kind of just feeling agender. Like just you're neither one. Like you're somewhere in this like space of, you know, not identifying as male or female.
Yeah, it could be that. You know, I think it's
just kind of that as a definition.
We're still figuring it out.
Yeah, it's still kind of going with the flow, but definitely probably somewhere like gender fluid, non-binary, agender, just somewhere in there where I don't really like wholeheartedly identify with any one thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's got to be kind of hard, because it's like you're here, you've transitioned to male, and then it's not like you can, like you were saying, you can't reverse fallow.
Yeah.
You know, even if you wanted to, it'd be really hard to reverse having top surgery. So it's like most people who are kind of in your situation could just transition to female, being MTF people, but you're not that. So it's kind of like, it's hard. I feel like it would be hard. Have you found other people that like you feel the same way as you? Like, has anybody reached out to you?
No.
Not really.
Yeah, that's also a difficult thing. You know, it's like not having anybody to like relate experiences with is difficult, because I'm kind of like navigating it by myself, because I don't feel like I'm like a detransitioner, if you will. And I don't really feel like obviously I'm not going to continue like transitioning, whatever that. I don't want to say continue, because like it's hard to like put into words, because I'm not on testosterone, but in a way it's like a separate transition going back on estrogen, you know, like, and it just feels weird. It just feels like I can't put myself in a box, just because like logically my brain's like, well, no, you're not this and this, so like that doesn't make sense, and you're not this and this, so it doesn't make sense. And so like I can't get comfortable in a label or like a spot, because I have just like such a radically different experience from most people that it's hard to identify with anything.
Right.
Do you feel like you can't identify as a girl because of the like how far you've transitioned, or because of like the things that happened to you in your past?
I can't say no. Okay. I think that definitely there's probably an aspect of myself that feels like I can't identify fully as a girl, because like, yeah, no, for sure. I'm actually really glad you asked that question, because it gives me an opportunity to kind of tackle that.
Yeah, when you're talking about like the scratch and the surface thing, I was like, I feel like it's so much deeper than than just like being not binary.
Yeah, it's because it kind of, I think what the fear is there for me, honestly, is it puts me back in a space of being misgendered. It puts me back in a space of like reliving that over again. And I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to do that. So I
That's a
think
very
I didn't even think about that part in
Yeah.
general.
because like it's like you're getting called if you get called a girl like in the she and stuff. Is it actually bothering you, or is it just bringing you back to the trauma that you had from being misgendered?
I think that definitely depends on my headspace in that moment. Like
Right.
there are times where I'll like, cause I went to like a jewelry store and I got misgendered or not. I guess it's not even misgendered. Like I just don't even know. But like they were like, okay, I'll be over with her in a minute. And there was like a moment where I was like, wait, like I don't like that. But then I was like, it's okay. You're fine. It's fine. You know? And then I was able to like, okay, it's chill. Like I don't really care. So, like, but then there's
Wait,
been
someone called you
instances-
she, and someone
Yeah.
called you she. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you were saying she or he.
Yeah, no, she. And then there's been instances where like that's happened and I like wasn't okay. And I was like having like full on panic attack. So it's full, it really it depends on where my mind is and where I'm in at like where I'm at processing what's gone on. I think there's just so many layers to it that I'm still peeling back and I'm still trying to figure out for myself. But it's interesting. It's like someone in the comments of one of my videos asked if like I'm like I feel like reverse dysphoria. And
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like that. But I wouldn't describe it as dysphoria because I'm not like I don't feel the need to like and then so I also like I want to say that I might not have a full understanding of dysphoria because there is a possibility that I wasn't experiencing it. So I don't want to say like reverse dysphoria. But I don't feel like the need to like change anything externally, or I don't feel the need like I'm trying to just like get comfortable and like love my body. But there's also like there are times where it's like weird to have a dick. It's like really weird.
Yeah.
And I'm
Really?
like, yeah, and it's like what the fuck, like like because I spent what like 21 years without
How did
one.
you feel waking up after phalloplasty? Like, how did it make you feel?
I was happy. It was like, oh
Really?
wow, like this aligns. This feels good. This looks right. You know what I mean? And like I remember like getting up in the mirror for the first time and like looking at it, I was like, wow, like this is pretty cool. But now I have moments now where I'll like the same thing. I'll like walk past the mirror and when I'm going to get like a towel or something, and I'm like, whoa, that's weird. It's like it kind of, and I have like phantom stuff going on sometimes. It's a weird.
What do you mean by that?
Like I'll like feel I don't want to like trigger anybody, but like I'll feel like my old parts and I'll be like it's like weird. I don't know. It's very triggering because it's like wait, that's not there anymore. So like why am I feeling it? And then I just have there's so much. It's just there's so many layers to it, and it's a lot. It's tough.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Like, crap, I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about. It was a question. Okay, so like with you saying, okay, so basically like the human mind is like incredible, crazy. You can like convince yourself anything basically if you try hard enough. I don't want to like say like I don't know, like suggest this, but like, has it crossed your mind that like the dysphoria that you're feeling now? Cause you mentioned like, I don't know if I actually have dysphoria or had dysphoria. Right. Do you know, would you say that the dysphoria you're feeling now, would be because you maybe convinced yourself you had dysphoria?
Could be, for sure. Could be. There could be yeah, for sure. And that's what I mean, like by the fact that there's just so many layers, like there's even like the aspect of like, okay, well, like I was kind of touching on earlier, like what if I didn't like, okay, so what if I was truly trans and I transitioned and I didn't feel safe in my body until this point and could process this trauma, like what if that was the case? Like, what if I am trans and I'm just like, I had to get to this space first to be able to process everything that was going on. And like I probably would have never realized the half of the stuff that I realized if I wouldn't have had phalloplasty.
Yeah.
So like it's like two sides to the coin, and I don't know which side that like I want to like, you know what I mean? Because it's so like again, there's like sides like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and like I can like kind of tick that off the box. But then there's the other side of it where that doesn't align and that doesn't make sense, and there's like aspects that don't like get ticked off. So I it's weird, and I have to like literally define my own experience, and I'm because of how I grew up and because of the things that I've gone through, I'm not good at that. I have a lot of like, I need people to kind of like validate me and like define my experience for me. So like the new space that I'm in now and like trying to just understand myself and like know that this is my experience and I kind of have to define it for myself now, which is scary, but also like freeing. And so it's difficult when you try to like relay it to people, because there are a lot of people who, like, I don't know if you've looked in the comments of the I Should Now Transition
Oh,
video.
I'll never look at the comments on any trans video
Yeah,
ever.
it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
the different types, like I'll get people like, fuck you, this is the reason why like trans people aren't taken seriously. And then you have people who are like, you know, go to Jesus, go to God. And then you have people who are like, there's just so many different like projections of other people's experiences onto mine. And I'm like, wait, well, should I go this way? Or like, wait, like, should I go this way? And then I have to be like, no, chill, like just go the way you feel, you know?
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you're documenting like your whole each way that you've gone, because like every trans person's like experiences is so different, and there's so many different paths you could go down, and like the one that you went down is one that anyone could happen to go down. And
Yeah.
there's got to be someone in this world who's watching you, who's experiencing the same thing, whether they've reached out or not.
Yeah.
There's got to be.
If there is, please reach out. I would love
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
seriously, if
Reach
anyone
out.
watching this is feeling the same way, definitely DM them.
Yeah, DM being, because like I don't know, like there's barely enough like you were talking about, like there's barely enough stuff about like medical stuff about someone who's transitioned.
Yeah.
Or like even like I don't know, I always wonder like what's gonna happen to me with like taking all this testosterone.
I
Like, is there gonna be a
know.
point where like I'm gonna have to stop because of
Yeah.
like how old I get, or like am I gonna develop something from this? Like how old am I gonna live to be? Like stuff like that. Like I haven't gotten my histo yet, but like would you recommend like to someone who possibly wouldn't get bottom surgery to get a histo, or like just leave it alone?
I would say, and this is just like my opinion and like my with my own experience, I would say if you don't plan on having bottom surgery, don't have a histo. Because if God forbid, if there is something that takes place and you can't continue on testosterone, at least you have some kind of hormone in your body where you're not facing like not having hormones at all, and then the osteoporosis and all of the other things that come with that. I mean, there's ways to like cope and there's ways to go around it, but at such a young age, you know what I mean? Like it's
I definitely wouldn't now, but like I asked because I know Buck Angel went through something where he didn't get his histo, and then like I forgot what exactly happened, but he almost died. He had to get like surgery and like have everything removed because like I don't know. Do you remember that? It was recent.
He had atrophy.
okay.
Yeah.
Was that because of the
He said it was-
testosterone?
Yeah, he said it was.
I take what he says with a grain of salt. I don't know if it was the testosterone. I don't know what it was, but he says that it was the testosterone.
Okay.
That's what I was asking, because
So I would say then, honestly, like I know it's uncomfortable, but I would say just go and get checked up, like maybe every 6 months to a year. I know that
as if I've
uncomfortable.
ever.
I know that shit's uncomfortable, but I think like just to that way you can catch it. If like if something is gonna like go down, or like, you know, if you experience something like Buck Angel did, at least you're like it's proactive. It's like, okay, I know this is happening. And that way it doesn't hit you by surprise, and you have like the tools, and also you can like mentally prepare, because that's a lot to go through. So
Okay, sweet.
I don't know. That's kind of
I don't know.
that's
This is
kind of scary to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about the anemia, and I didn't know about the possibility of these things. Like I didn't know.
yeah, and that's like another aspect of my story that I kind of want to start speaking on, because I do want people to know like there's a lot of things that are surrounding specifically bottom surgery that a lot of people aren't talking about, and like experiences. Like I'm not gonna say like obviously it's been like 5 years almost, but I'm not gonna say that it was like a terrible negative experience, but it wasn't. It's not anything like top surgery in that regard, where like, you know, you have top surgery, you're down for like maybe 3 weeks to a month, and then you kind of like slowly move back into life. It took me maybe 6 or 7 months to like fully feel okay, like emotionally, physically. Like I went through like crazy stuff. Like I was not myself. And I think when you go through something that like, because like phalloplasty itself, I mean, you're removing skin from your arm or your thigh, wherever you decide. And then you're taking skin from another place and putting that skin there. You're taking an artery out of your arm and attaching that artery to another artery, like towards your pelvis, to give blood supply. you're having things like taken out and closed up, and like there's so many different aspects of your body that have to like heal at one time. And then
Does
on
your
top of
arm
that,
hurt afterwards?
no, you don't feel it at all. And I think that's like a little, it's I don't know if that's good or like bad. It's you don't feel anything. Like even to this day with my arm, there are like I can feel maybe like right here. And then everything else is just completely numb.
Yo, get a tattoo. Would you ever get a tattoo over it?
I've thought about it, but I just don't know how the like ink would hold in my in the skin.
Yeah, that's kind of hard, especially when you're already, you know, have not as light of skin as other people who maybe get it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably harder that way.
I will say though, like people with like lighter complexions, the scars typically look a little better. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like the darker like I'm like somewhere in the middle, obviously, but I think like your scar would probably like Caden, for example, his scar healed like really nicely and it kind of like blends.
So how
Mine's
did
a little darker. So
at the time you said you didn't have maybe do you ever wish, I don't know if maybe you're part of the reason, well, you're wishing you'd gone maybe not done phalloplasty. Is that because of that reverse dysphoria you're feeling when you look in the mirror, or is it because you wish you could have back what you had the way it like functioned beforehand? Are you happy with the way that you can like use, well, when it comes to bottom surgery, they say like sexual performance as well as like aesthetics, like in all those categories, like where do you stand? Like what's causing you the most?
I think just because like okay, so sexually it works just fine.
Really?
Physically, yeah, it works fine. Like I feel it, it's there. You know what I mean? Like I can orgasm, all of that jazz. Like it's doing what it's supposed to do in that aspect.
Right.
I think though, ultimately, I think it's more so just like the body image thing where I like look in the mirror and it's like, wait, that's not my body, and then I have to like, okay, yeah, no, that is my body. Like everything's fine. There's that aspect of it, and then just the healing period after the surgery itself, like the trauma that my body went through, the trauma that my mind went through after the surgery. Like I just completely dissociated from my body for a while because I just couldn't like focus in on any aspect of my body because it was all hurting and it was all like painful. And then like you look at your arm and it's like that's not my arm, and it's just like a lot of things that you have to like relearn. It's kind of like being reborn, as weird as that may sound, because like literally I remember the first time I got out of the hospital bed, I almost like passed out because I was just so because you lay in the bed for 5 days and then like right, I think it's like towards the end of day 4, beginning of day 5, they have you like get up and start walking around the hospital, and I guess my blood pressure dropped or something happened and I almost like passed out because I hadn't been out of the bed in so long. And I just had like a major surgery, so I'm like trying to learn how to walk, and they're like, okay, you're not ready, like get back in bed. So I was in bed for like another day, and then eventually they got me up and they like slowly moved me into walking again. But that was rough. Like having to relearn how to pee is also like a crazy experience. That part was kind of like, I still look at that part as kind of fun. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like,
really?
that part is kind of cool. Yeah.
That's the part of it that kind of freaks me out, is having to have like a catheter and stuff. Like that's kind of scary.
Oh, well, that part's not fun. That part, but the like actually getting to pee out of like your dick, that's cool. That's fun.
Well, yeah, but like
the
how long
catheter
do you
is
have to-
not. The catheter, it depends. Like if you have complications, you have like I know guys who have had it in for like years. Like, but I had mine in for 3 weeks. 3 weeks to a month. It's rough. It's not fun.
Does it hurt?
Yeah, because they use like it's called a suprapubic catheter. So it goes in like right over, like it literally goes into your bladder. So it's not like going through your urethra, it's going like through your skin into your bladder. And like depending on how you sit, you can like agitate it. And so it's not fun though. Having the catheter in isn't fun. I laid down naked in bed pretty much for a whole month straight because of the catheter. It's just so uncomfortable putting clothes on. It's like you're in diapers for a majority of that time when you do leave the house. Like you just never know what's gonna happen when you move. And yeah, it's so rough. I would say if you like really, really feel like it's medically necessary, like maybe start with metoidioplasty, you know, because like at least with metoidioplasty, you
wish
like,
you had gotten metoidioplasty?
Oh yeah. If I was gonna do a bottom surgery, because then it's like I don't want to say it's my own anatomy because like it is mine, but it's like a piece of a different body part. But also like metoidioplasty, you have the option of having fallow if you decide to. It's kind of like that, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this and see how I feel. And then if if it still feels something you need, then you can go forward. I wish that I would have at least given myself that middle ground to like explore a little more before I went like full ham and turkey with phalloplasty, because it's just so like the only thing that I can really describe phalloplasty as is just very, very traumatic to the body. Like it's worth it if you need it and you want it, and it's like if it aligns with like what you need to feel like whole. But it's rough. It's a rough surgery. I wouldn't go through it again. Like
Really?
yeah. I'm so glad that I didn't have complications, and I'm obviously like not out of the woods yet. Like it's been 5 years, but at any point in time I could have an issue, because my anatomy isn't normal, if you will. Like it's not like if I went into the hospital, like if God forbid I had like a kidney stone or like, something like that, like I'd have to have surgery to get it taken out. I couldn't pass it normally because it would like rip up my urethra. You know what I mean? It's like things like that I didn't even think about. So like I can't, like if I get in like an accident or a car accident, I can't have like a normal catheter put in. That would mess up my urethra. And then on top of the like surgery that I have to have for the car accident or whatever, I'd have to go down. I have to go and have more surgery to fix my urethra. And like once you mess it up, it's just like the littlest things.
So wait, why would it mess up your urethra?
Because it's not like straight. It's not like I don't want to say a normal urethra, but for lack of better words, it's not like a cis urethra where it's like straightforward and people know what they're doing. Like this urethra is literally made out of like arm skin. And so like the littlest like poke or miss, like you could put a hole in it and you'd have like a fistula, and then you'd have to like go back in and like have that sealed or patched up. I don't really know the correct terminology for it, but it's like kidney stones or like what are the other ones? I can't think of what they're called, but like the ones that like the stones that you pass, and then like catheters, like anything having to do with the urethra is just really scary. And then you have the aspect of like, well, I don't want to talk on that because it's not my experience, but like because there are a lot of guys who I talk to and just like different like things, and there's just so many different aspects that go into it. It's not as straightforward as, honestly. There is a group on Yahoo. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but there's a group on Yahoo and you can like request to be joined. I'll have to find the name for you. But there's a lot of experiences in there. Some are like really positive, some are really negative, but you kind of get both sides. And that way you can kind of like talk to people and really like, yeah, I'll send it through to you. I'll have to find it because it's been a while, but I'll have to find it and see if I can, they'll approve you. If it's like for anybody who's thinking of having phalloplasty or who has had phalloplasty, and people just share their experiences in there.
Right. My next question was, oh God, what was I going to say? When you were looking into phalloplasty, like, did you see any negative reactions to it? Like, did you read anything that was negative about it?
Yes, I did.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I wasn't seeing the things that I saw after. It was more so like the fistulas and like just like little things. Like I realistically went into surgery thinking that I was going to come out with a complication. Like,
okay.
Just because of the way that people were talking about it, and like you just realistically you go in thinking that you're going to come out with something. So my first pee, I really, really thought that I was going to have like a fistula or something like that. And there's like, they have like this stuff called like Meta Honey or something like that. You're supposed to rub on it and it helps. Like I had that, like I bought that already. Like I was already prepared to like have a fistula. And when I didn't, like it was obviously I was like, holy crap, like amazing. But I was like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was like, oh shit, well, like what's wrong then?
Stricture.
yeah, just like anything, like because I was prepared for it. I was like, I had like incorporated that as a part of the process. So I was like really expecting and like waiting for it. And when it didn't happen, I think that also kind of played into the like guilt thing where I was like, oh shit, like my experience was a little different. And now I feel bad that I didn't go through this thing because of like, I have so many friends who are like really suffering. And so, right. Yeah, I realistically, I would say when having fallow, like go into it kind of like expecting that you're going to have some kind of issue, whether it's like minor or like major.
Right. Someone said this is like a kind of a wholesome question that someone asked is how are you taking care of yourself mentally and physically as you go through this point in life?
That's a great question. Um, I'm doing a lot. I'm spending a lot of time alone right now. Meditating. I'm going outside, which is like very healing. Just being in nature and kind of like I have like a spring by me, which is like super nice, and I like to go there sometimes and just kind of be like by the water and trying to really sit with myself and be honest with myself. I'm journaling a lot, which is fun and different. I'm starting to paint a little bit. I definitely like inspired by Ryan a little bit there.
Thank you.
But just trying to do things a little differently. Like trying to take care of myself in a way that I like. It's almost like being my own parent, as weird as that may sound. Like I'm trying to like reparent myself in a way that like I feel safe. So it's like, okay, yeah, you can explore that thing without the judgment, without the whatever it is. And I'm giving myself permission to do things that I probably wouldn't have given myself permission to do before. It's like I painted my nails. I ended up like peeling it all off because I got really anxious, but I painted my nails, so that was fun. I wouldn't have let myself do that before. So just like a lot of my own like that's actually that just brought up something really important. I'm sorry to kind of like skew off, but like my own like internalized homophobia, because I had a lot of internalized homophobia from the way that I grew up. I think that also played a part in why I transitioned.
So that's interesting. So you were so your current girlfriend, you guys were dating before transition,
Yeah.
during transition, and are still dating now.
Yes.
And so how does she identify? Is she bisexual or
Yeah, bisexual. I mean, not huge on like the labels. But yeah, bisexual. She just kind of loves who she loves, kind of thing.
Right. And so how has your relationship with her, you think it's gotten stronger through going through all of this?
Yeah, for sure.
Has there been any times that things were, maybe transition was causing stress on your relationship? I don't know.
For sure. She was my only caretaker when I had phalloplasty. So that was a lot on her. And we went through a pretty rough patch after that fact. But yeah, we've kind of been able to grow up together, which has been a beautiful but like challenging process for sure. But because we got together so young, like she's seen me at obviously 15 before I did anything, and then now where I'm on the other side of it and like processing it all. So I have my days where I kind of like shift back into that like old mindset, and I get really ugly and I get really mean. And it's just about like sitting down and kind of communicating and like, this is how I'm feeling right now. Sometimes she has to like baby me through it, but like she's super understanding. She's super loving. I'm really, really lucky to have her as a partner, to be honest, because there's a lot of things I don't think that I would have been able to process alone. And sometimes we just sit in silence, and that just makes all the difference. Just having somebody like that understands and knows where I'm at. But yeah, definitely transition put a strain on us for a really long time. We were on and off for quite some time because of like me trying to figure out myself and me trying to put the pieces together. And I got like really toxic for a while, and that's hard for me to admit, but I got really, really toxic for a while just because I was so unhappy. But then that's also a part of like the reparenting that I was kind of talking about before. It's like trying to teach myself healthy ways to communicate, healthy ways to like move through problems that I'm having. It's just like a big process. Like it's like I was saying before, like the layers thing. There's just so many layers to it. But yeah, she's been a blessing for sure. I don't know how I would have gone through half the shit I've gone through.
Well, I looked at most of the questions that I asked you are all the ones on Instagram that were like actually relevant. Okay. So if there's anything else that you want to ask, or if there's anything else people in the chat who are actually watching this right now want to ask, as well as if there's anything you want to touch on.
Yeah, anything.
I don't want to leave anything out.
No, yeah, I don't know. I think like we got a huge range in today, and I want to say I'm really thankful for you two. You guys' open minds, and just like there's a lot of love, and I really appreciate you guys. Because like I said, this was a huge thing for me to post. And I was really scared of like the way that the community was going to respond, because this was like the only community that I had ever felt a part of, and I was really terrified to like let anybody down or upset anybody. And I don't know, your guys' like love and support has been like ultimately like, it means a lot to me, like seriously. So thank you guys for having me, and thank you guys for letting me even like share my story. That means a lot to me.
Well, I definitely, when I watched your first video, I was really like interested in like the way you were feeling, which is I was a little hesitant to make my first reacting video because I didn't want people to see you in a negative light. You know, I didn't want people to go. It was like the complete opposite. It was more so just like I don't know, the video didn't have as many. I don't know when you posted it. Maybe when I watched it, it maybe had a few thousand views, and I was like, I think more people should see this.
As soon as it came out.
Yeah, as soon as it came out, and I said
5,000 views.
I was like, more people need to see this. So I wanted to share that to my audience in a way that it would reach a lot of people.
Yeah, I appreciate that. As I also, though, I've like connected with like a couple of people who like not have like the exact same experience, but they've been in like, there's like people who are like questioning still, and there are people who have like been on testosterone and then kind of stopped and are like now in this space where they're trying to figure out like what's next. And so it's been really cool to like connect with people that like I wouldn't have connected with otherwise if they hadn't seen the video that you made. So like it's just crazy how things kind of like come together. And so
Right.
I don't know. Like I said, just a lot of gratitude and a lot of appreciation for the both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
Someone asked, do you ever think it's possible that your menopausal or endometrial symptoms could be responsible for your thoughts on detransitioning or regret?
I mean, I can't like 110% rule that out, you know.
Right.
But I don't think so, because
Right.
I wasn't always menopausal, and I always wasn't. I guess no, I could go either way if I'm being honest and like really open. But I don't think so. I don't feel that. I don't, because I was menopausal for a really long time after
Right.
fallow. Like because I wasn't really like on testosterone consistently, so I was having the hot flashes. Technically, I've been menopausal since my hysterectomy, which was like in March of 2015. So, and I didn't start exploring this stuff heavily until like December of last year, November, December of last year, that's when like I posted the video and stuff, and that was when I was like really in the thick of it. So I don't think. The only way that I could really answer that is like come back in a couple months when I'm like kind of consistent on estrogen, and I can like tell you if I still feel the same way. But even for me to like start estrogen again, that's kind of one of those signs for me personally that it doesn't feel like it is.
That's a big step. I feel like, you know, that's actually starting to do something that negates your original goal.
Exactly. And so I feel like I don't feel like it's because of the menopause, but like I said, there's honestly no way to know until I've been like kind of until I like level off and I'm steady and my hormones are like at normal rates. So
right. I feel like this would be a good like last question,
sure.
Which is, what do you have to say to people that have had bad sexual experiences that also identify as transgender, and that bad sexual experience could have impacted their transition?
That is a good question. I would say, we'll start with you're enough. Like
you're enough.
Yeah, that I needed to hear that so desperately because I had a lot of things stripped away from me. You're enough. You are worth it. The pain you're feeling is valid. I would say like not to project my own experience, but the things that really helped me was going inward and not valuing the external things as much as I did, like really going inside and like figuring out your heart, because there's no wrong way to do that. There's no wrong way to be. There's no wrong way to exist. Like you're here. This is your experience. You've got one of them. Like do what makes you happy. Love yourself like wholeheartedly. Like radical self-acceptance. Just radically accept yourself for exactly where you are right now and move forward from there. If you have goals, like implement those things, but love yourself right now because you're enough right now. You don't have to change a thing. You don't have to do anything except be exactly what you are. And that would have been like, yeah, bless you. That would have been something like, super important for me to hear like a couple years ago.
All right. Well, I can't really think of much else. No. If there's anything else you want to say.
No, yeah, I'm good.
I feel like we've been here. I don't want to make it too long just for people that come back and watch off of live.
Yeah.
So if you guys have anything that you would want to ask Being About, if you want to DM them, I have a link to your channel that's in the link to this video or the description of this video, but I'll also link your Instagram. I feel like if there's anywhere else that's better to reach you.
No, honestly, Instagram is probably the best place to be honest.
So I'll link their Instagram and their channel. Just remember, you guys, to be respectful. I think to anyone involved, because obviously I feel like you're already going through a lot on your own, trying to figure things out. So, I know that some of you guys can be a little bit rude sometimes. So
Yeah, we were watching the chat.
some of the people in the chat were being really irritating. If I was ever looking down at my phone, it's because I literally had to go in there and block people and put people as moderators. So
It's all good. I like I said, I appreciate all the experiences, honestly. Like that's also something I want to say. Like, it's okay if you disagree with me. Like, I still love you, I still respect you. Like, everybody's entitled to that opinion, everybody's entitled to their beliefs, and you're still valid and you're still important. And yeah, that's it's totally cool.
dope. I love that. All right. Well, I'm going to end up the broadcast here. Thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you everyone who was respectful in the chat. And thank you to the person that I made a moderator to help moderate the chat. And yeah, I'll be posting a new video tomorrow for anyone that's interested in that.
So
I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Please show some love to Being for coming here and talking to us and taking time out of their night to have this discussion.
yeah.
Thank
And
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, cool. Nice talking
See
with
you
you.
later. I'll text you though.
Yeah, sweet. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.